Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Okay, before I get started, let me salute my wonderful, beautiful folks in the house. Michael Rudnin from Brooklyn, New York. Welcome aboard, my dear brother. Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. Welcome aboard, my dear, beautiful lady. Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Atascocita. Welcome aboard. Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. Welcome aboard. We also have in the house Bridge MCP from Binghamton, New York. That's upstate New York. And in the house, as well as I scroll up, we have Lee Grant. Lee Grant is from Montgomery County. And I'm scrolling up. Norman Reynolds, my brother, mi hermano favorito. How are you doing, Norman? You've been hiding, staying away. I mean, it's like, oh my God, the guy forgot that he has friends, but it's okay. AVQ, I think I saluted you already, but I don't think I have saluted Yvette Avery Herod, the labor union beauty who just won an award, and she was all dressed out and decked out and given her speech out there in Atlanta, Georgia, or should I say Atlanta, Georgia. Anyway, we're going to have a great show for you today. Hey, yesterday we carried the event live, the debate live, because Mr. Michael Rudnin, during the show, he says, Egberto, are you carrying the debate live? And I said, well, I really didn't plan to. I wanted to sit back and watch it and write stuff. But the tonality that Brother Rudnin had seemed to tell me that the PDR posse would have wanted to have a live instance of the program where we could chat as we all watched the debate together. So we did that. And you know what? I enjoyed myself. I put the debate on one side of the screen. I put the chat up on the other part of the screen. So it was pretty good. So I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, who else was in the house? Lee Grant was in the house. And I had to ask Lee Grant a very, very special question. Are you ashamed now? Because if you're not, my dear brother Grant, you should be ashamed. Because Donald Trump looked like a deranged maniac. She completely baited him into being a hoo-hoo cuckoo. Michael says, Egberto, the face you were making, you look like you were gonna blow a gasket during the debate. I hope I didn't have on too much of an ugly face as I was watching it, but I was like, damn, it was crazy. It was crazy, Michael. It was crazy. Anyhow, let's see what I got to read here. Let's see if you guys have anything for me to read. Breed says, okay, so for this who conservative rep, you have to know this man is sick by now. Mega peeps won't, or I think you mean MAGA peeps won't, because they seriously have some mental delusional issues, as we will see in the chat today. Look, Breach, please, my sweet Breach, when you see any form of delusional thinking, willful ignorance in the chat, as soon as you're reading and you find the first word of delusionary ignorance, stop and go to the next. Let's love each other. Let's not go through when I look at half of Eric's stuff, I read the first few letters, I see that he's just being a parrot of the right, and I ignore it and go to the next. I still love Eric, but he's a parrot for the right, the parrot for misinformation. So I know every now and then I will respond to some of it because, well, anyway. All right. Paul Fleming says Harris has an unbelievable coalition from Bernie Sanders to Dick Cheney to Liz Warren to Liz Cheney and Miss Americana. Taylor Swift is for cherry on the top. Taylor, I really love me some Taylor Swift of long ago. What I like about Taylor is she's a self-made woman, right? Unlike a lot of women that depended on a whole lot of guys to move her forward, this young girl have this face of innocence, like if she doesn't really know what's going on, but that's one savvy woman. She knows how to operate. Always liked it. My daughter and I, while we were in DC, we used to talk about that. We used to make those comparisons between her and Beyonce and how they build their different empires. And I've got to say that in the case of her, Taylor Swift, she had a unique way of doing it, and she doesn't give a damn. She knows how to hold on to those little girls. Anyway, we'll continuing. All right, let's see what else we got. Melanie, I have two cats as well, a Siamese and a Balinese. They're the only breeds that don't trigger my cat allergies. Well, I hope at the same time you don't intend to have for lunch, Mr. Rudnin, because it seems like that delusion that Trump is. You know what is the funniest thing? These guys talk so much stupidity with all of their conspiracy theories and all of that. And the people that are putting that out, they know what they're doing. They know that the people that are reading these things are gullible. You know what they didn't quite know? That their president, Trump, is also shallow-minded. That he could go on national TV and sound so ridiculously mentally impaired by making that statement about the cats and dogs and the immigrants. It just shows you that he is not the puppeteer. He is the puppet. He is the MAGA output that somebody else is puppeteering. I want you guys to understand that. The fact that Donald Trump came out in a debate, I can understand when he's doing his MAGA rallies and all of that, because a lot of those people are like, cuckoo, love them, but they're cuckoo. I love them. I really do. I'm trying to bring them into the fold. But as far as being delusional or having the proclivity to believe conspiracy junk, that's who they are. Donald Trump forgot that he wasn't in front of those people. Oh, no, it's not that he forgot. He is one of those people that is being puppeteered by the plutocracy, a section of the plutocracy, the Koch brothers and others. And that's what we have to realize. Paul Fleming says, Nikki Haley, find me one American that says that they were better the last 4 years than the ones before it. You can find it, Sorkin. Most of the people who have any stock in this market would tell you that, actually. Shame. All I tell people is look at the stock market. But that affects 20% of the people. A lot of people say, oh, everybody have your money in the stock market. Not to be worried about. Michael Hernandez said Trump didn't answer a single question. Exactly. But, okay, I want to play this now because what you just said, Radin, is very important. Trump didn't answer any questions at all. But you know what? You know what I found ironic? In as much as Trump did not answer any questions, the media puts out that word that says Kamala Harris needs to be more precise with her policies. Listen again. And then you hear people start to parrot that. Right? People start to parrot, oh, Kamala needs to be more precise. I need to hear a little bit more. I need to hear a little bit more. Well, if your choice is to hear a little bit more, shouldn't you be saying that to Trump? But anyway, today a panelist, Alencia Johnson, called that out on TV, and I loved it. I loved the way she did it because Chuck Todd and the others. I want you to look at Chuck Todd and former governor of Ohio. I want you to look at their faces when she called out the media for the double standard. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side. I kept on hearing pundits talk about where are the specifics for Kamala Harris's proposals or economic plan for Americans, etc. She needs to put that out. She is currently the incumbent vice president who worked over the IRA and all these big plans that are succeeding in bringing not only economic success to many Americans, but are starting to improve the lives of other Americans. That's a statement of fact by the numbers. Yeah, I mean, we still need to do something about bringing price controls by really going after those corporations that are gorging Americans, etc. But they keep asking of her, where are your specifics? Where are your specifics? Where are your plans? Finally, Alencia Johnson gets really upset or concerned on a panel, and she said, well, listen to what she said, and then we'll take it on the other side.
I do want to push back on this notion where everyone is talking about Vice President Harris didn't give specifics. She gave numbers around the policies that she is believing will help the economy. She also talked about abortion access. And if she wasn't talking about policy, she was humanizing the issue. And it is really challenging that Donald Trump doesn't get the same smoke from the media and people who are saying that they want to hear more from Vice President Harris when he has never rolled out any policies. But he has, cozied up with the people who created Project 2025, who are going to have people monitoring women for the decisions about their bodies. And so Vice President Harris is giving us specifics. And it feels very much that the bar is higher for her, given that she's a woman. And yet Donald Trump, the bar is so low that he just gets to skate on by with no specifics at all. He does a lot of media interviews, but again, doesn't give specifics. She does one major media interview, gives specifics, gives them at her rallies. She's completely disciplined. And so we saw that again last night. And I need for the people who are paying attention to this election to start actually thinking critically, why aren't we asking Donald Trump the same questions about specifics that we are demanding of her?
And she is right. Why are there two standards being applied here? One is asking her to give specificity that is not asked of Donald Trump, even as she tells people, these are the particular plans I want in what we're calling an economy that works for all, an opportunity economy. Donald Trump says nothing. He doesn't answer the questions. He doesn't talk about specifically what he's going to do. Yet, none of these panelists, even as she mentioned it, later come and say, yeah, we probably need to ask Donald Trump a few more questions. This is a bias we have both in reporting by the mainstream media, and by the way, many people, many average Americans are asking the same questions, but it's evident that it is prompted by the media. It shows that the mainstream media has the influence on people's minds as well. Because when she goes in and she says, I want to make sure child credit's given. I want to make sure that we build more homes. I want to make sure that we do this, give $50,000 tax credit to businesses. I want to make sure that people who are going for a home will have the monies for down payments, etc. It's out there. But somehow she needs to give more specifics than Donald Trump, the loser who continues to act like an unhinged maniac. And that's who we want to control our government? I don't think so. Folks, we have got to get rid of both our obvious prejudices, both realized and the ones that we have laid back in us. Come on, folks. Come on, folks. Wake to hell up. Before I go to Norman's statement, I just want to tell folks who decide to read Eric's misinformation. Project 2025 has not been debunked. The man has been running from it like white on rice. Let me tell you that he was in the he went to the Heritage Foundation as they were putting it together. Numero uno. Numero dos. J.D. Vance wrote the prologue to the Project 2025 book that Trump and family, or the right wing, stopped the publication. It was supposed to come out last month. They stopped the publication of the book because Project 20, that book, the forward of the book was written by, guess who again? Guess who? J.D. Vance, the vice presidential candidate. Now, to our gullible Eric Hayes, if you want to continue having them lie to you, wake up, because you're showing a mental depravity by actually coming out on a national site and putting Project 2025 debunked. It makes you look silly. When J.D. Vance has written the prologue to the book, come on, man, wake the hell up. There goes the child in him, man. Again, grow up. Anyway, let's continue and stop listening to the child for a minute here, my dear brothers and sisters. All right, let's continue. Michael Rudnin says, no, not Michael Rudnin, Norman Reynolds says, I hate being gaslighted by right-wing GOP hardliners who think the media is left-leaning when there is a New York Times and the SCOTUS, which is in the tank for Trump, using false equivalents. It's not only that. The head of the New York Times recently, Brother Norman, I wrote an article about it, and I think I did a page on it, actually said the same thing. He said, we are not going to fact-check Trump. We are not here. We are just going to play things right down the middle. In other words, if Trump says something, we'll print it. If Kamala says something, we'll print it. Of course, when they print Kamala, they fact-check. What was so good yesterday was we got 3 fact checks out of over 30-something lies out of Trump. 3 fact checks. 3 fact checks. And for that, Donald Trump says, oh, it was me against them. And so people, you guys get it. I know you get it. I know you get it. All right, let's see. Kamala Harris pitched a shutout. I have the video, but you know what, guys? I have the video not only from Chris Wallace, but from Brit Hume. They all said the same thing, but I didn't get a chance to process the Brit Hume video. I'm going to have that for you guys tomorrow, because Chris Wallace destroyed Donald Trump. But then there are others who destroyed Donald Trump for not being prepared, for being lazy. Kamala Harris was prepared. She was prepared. She knew when certain questions came that she was going to ding Donald Trump with his own inability to control himself. Because you know Donald Trump is a child, right? He's a child being puppeted by others. So when he's on his own, he doesn't know what to do other than act like a child with a tantrum. And that's what he did. All right, let's continue. Let's continue here. Para ver qué más tengo que hacer. Melanie says, cray cray. Yes, it was cray cray, Melanie. All right, what else have we got here? I'm scrolling down, guys, so bear with me. Paul Sr. says he called himself the most respected, most feared person while spending 90 minutes avoiding contact with the person standing right next to him. He's scared of women. He's scared of assertive women. You get an assertive woman next to him, he doesn't know how to act. Right? Those of us that are real men, we love assertive women. We love women that are leaders. In fact, we don't mind being led by women. In my lifetime, I've been led by many a woman. My first boss was a woman who I loved dearly. I wrote about her in my book. Guess what? Tribulations of a Afro-Latino Caribbean man. Racism didn't stop my smile, hope, or journey forward. My first boss was a woman. And I love that woman. She took a chance on me, and I made her look good 99% of the times for having taken that chance. Great boss of mine, a woman in the oil industry. I don't want to call her name because she may still be alive. A woman in the oil industry. She was a professional engineer. She was a PhD in petroleum engineering. And she knew her stuff, but she was with the good old boys. And the one thing we shared in common is that we were both quote unquote minorities in the space. And we never said anything about that to each other, but we all knew it. We all knew that there were a lot of Trumpians around us. That was back in the 80s, right? We all knew there were Trumpians around us, but we had a silent code, me and this woman. It was amazing. When I left, I remember I thought would get cut because it was during the rig count falling in the Gulf of Mexico, and I saw they were laying off much engineers, much senior than I was, and I said to myself, if they're laying off those seniors, I'm next. I was never in line, she told me, and when she tried to keep me, but when I left, she cried like a baby, you know. But anyhow, that was just offshoot. Anyway, let's continue here. Let's continue here. Para ver. Michael Radnit says, Paul, Trump was talking about better, cheaper healthcare system back in 2016. After getting elected, he did nothing to advance our healthcare system. He's stuck in the past and will never admit to his. The problem is that Trump doesn't know anything about anything. All they want Trump for is to sign a bill that says tax cuts. And tax cuts, how to pay for it. You guys have to understand this tariff thing. These guys are willing to destroy the country. They are willing to destroy the country to have rich people not pay taxes. Let me talk a little bit about the tariff before I move on. You know, when they talk about we import, I think it's like $3 to $4 trillion worth of products, okay? And Donald Trump wants to put a 10% tariff on everything we import. So on a $3 to $4 trillion, let's put it in half. That's about collecting, if he did a 10%, $350 billion per year in taxes collected. Let's wait a second. I'm not done. That's how he's seeing the tariff, right? He's not taking into account that putting a tariff on is going to have a retaliating effect on our farmers and anybody else. He just sees 3.5 trillion, put a 10% tariff on, give rich people a big tax cut. And you know why people are going to continue to pay that inflated price? And by the way, that would create inflation, right? Because the prices go up. But you know why he doesn't care? And you know why he knows that money would still flow in? Because we don't have the manufacturing capacity for what we're importing. So he knows that all those Walmart products that we buy will cost about, it will get that one-time big inflationary costs, right? Here's the thing. Here's what they don't explain to you, brothers and sisters. Inflation is transient in this fashion, right? Biden was at 9% inflation. Now inflation is down to 2.5. But all the cumulative inflation that we've had thus far remains. The cumulative inflation remains. So here's what Brother Trump is thinking about doing. It's a complete it's a complete revival of the conversion of the tax system from a system that's collecting income tax to a system that collects tariffs. So if he starts to get all that money, right, you will get that one-time bang of paying for that $10 dress or for that $30 dress. You'll get that one-time hurt of paying another $3 for that dress. But then Trump figured out, wait a minute. And after that, it's not inflation anymore, right? Because you're at the inflated price. And going forward, we are living in a new delta. We're collecting all the taxes from tariffs, and all the rich people pay no taxes. It's a look. I wish more people would understand the corrupt nature of what these guys are doing. The tariffs is a regressive tax that all poor people are going to pay, right? Because the things that are going to be taxed are the clothes at Walmart, all the stuff that Walmart sells, that most of it is imported from China, Vietnam, Costa Rica, and everywhere else, right? So you get that one-time inflationary charge, and he takes that bad inflation his first year. It's going to turn out like, oh my God, inflation is now 10% because of the tariffs. And he gets hit by that 10%. But the next year, inflation drops back to 2.5%. But that 10% charge that's on everything remains. So people are used to paying that. People are used to paying that tax to the government, and the rich people get off scot-free. People, they just think we are dumb because we don't understand how these things work, right? It's a regressive tax, and it is saying we're no longer using income tax as our main source of income for the government, so rich people can make as much money as they want. What they've gone to now is a national sales tax, using mostly on imported goods. Folks, you got to understand the evil within and how these people would just continue to stick it to the poor. And all these MAGA folks that are, we want the tariffs because they're sticking us with it. But at the same time, he's not doing anything to increase manufacturing in the United States. Nah, because to build a plant, nah. You guys don't understand the evil. And people like, let's say, that my brothers and sisters like Mike Cisak and the other MAGA folk in here, they're getting screwed without grease, and they still don't get it. They think they get it because the right wing has a machine that continues to misinform them. All right, continuing. Let's continue. Paul Fleming says, wouldn't you think that someone who brags about going to Wharton School of Business would know how tariffs work? He knows how it works. He knows it. The reason he knows it. The reason he continuously say this, he understands that the people that follows him don't read, but the regurgitation that they give them. So he's not going to go on national TV and say, I know it's a tax on the American people. He knows it. But that explanation that I just gave you, it's a way of being able to to reduce the income taxes on rich people by having a regressive tax. Get it, people, understand it, and spread the word. The tariff deal is another deal to just give rich people some money. All right. Michael then says, Eric seems to think there's a major difference between Project 2025 and Project 47. Eric doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Eric, one of the right-wing media just have to feed Eric something, and it comes from the right, he believes it. Like when you have your 5-year-old and you tell your 5-year-old something and they just take it, they don't do any critical thinking about it or anything like that. All right, John Carter says, New York Times is responsible, and that's why I canceled my subscription. All right, Michael Cisak wants to say something. Come on in, my dear brother Michael. Talk to me. Michael, you're on.
Hey, brother.
Talk to me, brother. Talk to me.
Well, I just want to talk to you about taxes. Because it seems like you're talking out of both sides of your mouth.
Please don't. Well, teach me, brother. Teach me.
Okay. So, got a question. You're talking about, the tariffs that Trump wants to use.
Yes.
Now, all that will raise costs and everything else. So, it seems that you understand the concept of having a tax on things that are sold by companies.
Absolutely.
As a as an inflationary part of the process. Correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So when
I know exactly where you're going, and I'm going to have fun with you because I know where you think you're going. Go ahead.
when Harris calls for a 10 to 15% increase in corporate taxes across the board,
Mm-hmm.
along with other taxes on capital
Mm-hmm.
that are used to, invest in companies,
Mm-hmm.
is that not going to be inflationary?
Absolutely so. Perfectly so. You nailed it. You're absolutely right, and we are in agreement, Mike Cisak. What else? What are the points you want to put out?
Okay. So the other thing I was kind of curious about is that this $25,000 that Kamala keeps talking about
Mm-hmm.
for first-time home buyers. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now this sounds kind of similar to like all the money that the federal government has been pumping into universities and colleges with the Pell
Okay.
Grants and the loans and the
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
money and there's
I
been like
agree.
400% inflation,
Yes.
wild inflation in the cost of going to the universities. Okay,
Yes.
so every time the government comes out and throws my money away to someone else,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we get huge inflation in that particular sector.
Okay.
So what do the Democrats have if they can't use my money to buy votes?
Okay. Okay. First of all, they're not using your money to buy votes because we could say the
Well, they
same
are.
thing. Okay. Again, I let you talk. Now you let me talk. Okay. All right. So be quiet for a
Trying
second and
some
listen to what
kind
I'm
of
saying,
policy
sir.
without
Sir, you made
buying
your
votes
point.
with tax
You made
money from
you
me.
made your point. You made your point. Be quiet now so that you can get an answer. I'm starting to have some problems with the right wingers now that many of you are pissed that we are going to win everything, and you don't have that bi-directional conversation. Just like I spoke to the young man this morning, I give you your time to speak fully, and I don't interrupt you.
No, you don't.
And then I
No, you
ask
don't. You
you,
do interrupt me.
and then
You're
you
constantly
listen.
interrupting me.
You're interrupting me, sir. So again, it's my program, and there are times that I will tell you to stop because you made a point that I want to interject on. So let's get busy now with what you're saying. We're going to be busy with what you're saying, and don't interrupt me until. Here we go. You are absolutely right that in our current economic system, when you raise prices on the big dogs, whether it be the price of a product manufactured in China. By the way, they don't pay that tax. We, the people, always pay the tax. If we increase the price, if we increase the taxes on investments and all these other things, all these people all want to do the same thing: recover what they lost in redistribution through taxes. You're absolutely right. One of the reasons I say the capitalist system is a failure is because it allows that to happen. It allows infinite profits on other people's backs. Okay? You have this
Thanks for
fallacy.
your permission.
I am not done speaking. I'll tell you when I'm done. Basically, the capitalist system is based on using the works on a few, profiting from the works of others. You explained it perfectly, Mr. Cisak. You did a great job in pointing out the defects of capitalism. And what I'm trying to do now is, because you point out how we started putting a
Wait.
lot of money into school. I'm not done. We started putting a
I
lot
just
of
got a
money
question.
into. No. Wait till I'm done. You started putting a lot of money
Fine.
into schools, and the price of tuition went up. You're absolutely right. You started putting a whole lot of money. You start charging tariffs. The price of the product went up, but the price of the product theoretically should only go up by relative to the price of the tariff. All of that is true. When Biden threw money into the economy through a stimulus, that should not have caused price rises. That mechanism that I'm speaking about for putting money into people's pocket, meaning that the demand side as opposed to the supply side are two different mechanisms. One is governed by the person or the corporation that has pricing power. The other one is caused by demand and supply. In other words, if we have a real gas shortage, the price of gas naturally, organically goes up. However, when Biden put money into the pockets of people and the gas companies see it, they take 2 million barrels of oil off the market so that they could collect that money because they know the people have that money to spend for higher prices. Two different mechanisms. So I have more to say, but I'll stop here to give you a chance to talk.
Okay. Okay, so you're disconnected on a lot of things. Okay.
No, I'm not. What I just said was a statement of fact.
Okay, so here's a little fact for you. I'll go from the back end to the front. The production of oil has continuously increased, and the supply has continuously increased over the last 3.5 years. So when you said that the supply was cut, that's false.
Okay.
Okay.
Now I ask you to stop so we can address that one at a time. What you just said is a verifiable falsehood. You simply have to realize that OPEC,
okay,
right after
so
I am not done. Let me
you
answer
don't
the
have to
question.
continue because
No, I have to
Biden
continue
and
because we have
Harris
we have an audience. We have
said
an audience,
otherwise.
okay? We have an
But
audience. We
Biden
have
and
an audience.
Harris said otherwise. So you're disagreeing with Biden. Okay. I got it.
No, that's not the point. What I said is a statement of fact that, and folks, please entertain this conversation because this is important because a lot of MAGA people are so ill-informed that this dialogue will actually go places. The fact of the matter is, right after the pandemic, when we had the glut of oil, again, the oil because people weren't using as much, etc., OPEC, to keep the
Yeah.
prices high, OPEC immediately took 2 million barrels of oil off the market. Continue.
All right. So that particular time, the consumption of oil collapsed worldwide.
Of course.
Okay, in 2021. Okay, companies, in response to demand going way down, do the only thing that they can, and that is to reduce production, because it doesn't make any sense to overproduce when you don't have the ability to store the stuff.
I don't see what point you're trying to make.
So you're kind of ignorant on really how oil works.
Wait, no, sir. Wait. Hold on. Stop for a minute. No. Oh, hold on. No. Wait. Stop. You just called me ignorant on oil. I worked in the industry. I know the industry, and not only did I work in the industry, knowing it, but executives in the industries are a good friend of mine, so that I can follow what has happened since I left the industry. No, I know quite a bit more about the oil industry than you could possibly forget. Continue, please.
And yet you call Exxon a monopoly? Really?
Because they are, absolutely. Yes, they are. I can prove it. But go ahead, continue.
All right.
Continue with your point. Continue with your point.
When they have the 3% of the whole worldwide supply, you call them a monopoly. Wow.
That's yes.
Okay.
Continue.
Right, sure. Okay. Well, obviously. Okay. So, you also said that when Biden passed the it was actually Green New Deal, but they named it something else. So the inflation.
Come on, look, Mike, you're fumbling. Mike, know what you're talking about. You're fumbling. Right. Come on, hurry up.
Okay, so basically that was about $3 trillion that was thrown into the economy. Okay, so there was supply was increased as far as money. Okay, that drives demand. The supply was not available at the time, so that caused inflation. That's where it came from.
All right, you're not okay. I gotta get back to the show. I got to get back to the show because what you're saying is factually factually correct.
Right. Yeah, and you just realized. Yeah. Okay.
No. Right. We'll talk. We'll talk another time.
It's just facts.
Well,
price
Mike,
tags and
this
math, which you
we
don't
have.
know.
Look, sir, I gotta go because I gotta finish some videos. But let
Yeah,
me just say you're simply wrong.
yeah,
Here's
go
the
ahead.
deal, folks. Have a great day. But you keep listening and keep calling. Let me tell you something that Mike just said that, where he's misled by the oil companies, right? The thing that they always talk about is, well, they have to cut down production. Norman Reynolds is in the house right now. We know how to put temporarily these refineries on mothballs. We know how to do it, and we know how long it takes for them to crank up to start back the production line after if we've increased production. We're not talking on the order of several months here. We're talking at the orders at most several weeks. Okay, to start getting all the supply chain keep going. What we have is the distinct manipulation of the market. In fact, they're being sued right now for colluding with Saudi Arabia in keeping oil prices high, and in keeping oil prices high, that went through the entire supply chain from food prices to the prices of meat to everything because we're an oil economy. Again, I don't. I ask, I could have an entire show on this issue. The fact of the matter is, brother CSAC is simply manipulated by bad media. But anyway, let's continue with the show. Because again, this I want to play you guys a few more things. But beforehand, let me read real quickly. Brother Cutter, John Cutter, how you doing, my brother? He says just another transfer from the low and middle class to the rich. That is what many tariffs do. Exactly right, sir. Norman Reynolds says, I can't believe waiting 9 years for a plan that can replace Obamacare. No specific or schematic, yet 100%. All GOP except one, John McCain, thumb voted to get rid of it without replacement. These guys are evil. What they're trying to do is save the insurance companies money. People think, what they're trying to get rid of really is that magical thing called you can no longer be denied insurance because of a pre-existing condition. It's not the other stuff that bothers them. They can recover that money. It's because they are locked into two things: not being able to rescind your insurance, having to cover pre-existing conditions, and at the same time not rescinding. It means that there's no caps. Understand why they're wanting to get rid of Obamacare. It's not because of getting everybody insurance. It's about getting everybody insurance that's actually being paid. These guys are simply evil. DJT Software, $15 this morning after the nation took stock of Donald last night. Yep, it's going to keep tanking. Michael Rene says, hey, Mike C., there's a center right site you might want to read about Newland and Russia-Ukraine treaties. Ukraine didn't take Russians' deal because it would have required their demilitarization. Would you have given up and threatened? No, he would not have given it up. All right, let's see what else we have. Lee Grant says, here's another data point in the Haitian Guy story. I don't follow when we have that kind of a crappa. But anyway, let's continue. Para ver, para ver, para ver, para ver, para ver, para ver, para ver. John, I personally support a 2% blanket import tax, small enough that people won't notice it, then push a lot of the funding into our flagging manufacturing sector. That said, a 10% tax is nuts. You said that kind of stuff makes sense, right, Radin? Because a 2% thing is like, a 2% inflation for 1 year. Because remember, this only occurs the very first year that it's implemented. And then it's continuous. So it doesn't apply to inflation after that. It is just like eggs cost. Let's say egg was $2 4 years ago and now it's $3. That if it stays at $3, inflation is zero. So that's how you look at it. And that's what Trump is trying to do. Trump is trying to shock our system into collecting all this money from the lower classes. And then after the first shock, we kind of grow into accepting it. That's what it's all about. And he has a lot of he got a lot of he has accomplices in the in these other issues. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let's see. I'm reading. Saudi Arabia took the 2 million barrels off the market to stick it to. Oh Lord, I wonder sometimes. Let's see. Carl Cox says Mike Cisak and Eric Hayes don't understand math. Breach says I'm going to go overtime. I may go overtime by 2 minutes, but we're okay. We're okay. I mean, Breach, sometimes it is good to be educational. I mean, Mike Cisak thought he was going to come on here and teach me something about taxes and the oil industry. Okay? I don't know everything, but damn it, I know a whole lot about the industry, and know a whole lot about taxes, and I know a whole lot about economics. I mean, I can always learn something new, but it drives me crazy when these guys allow the right wing to pollute their minds and then they believe that they know something. And because that is what has us in the state that we're in right now. All right. Paul Fleming says, I don't report on fake stories. Biden's senior deputy press secretary Andrew Bates confirmed that the photo of Biden in a Trump hat is real at that Shanksville fire. Yes, he was doing a unity thing. Potter spoke about the country's bipartisan unity after 9/11, and we needed to get back on that. As a gesture, he gave a hat to a Trump supporter who then said the same spirit, Potter should put the hat on. And I would have done the same thing. I've put on a MAGA hat before. That doesn't make me MAGA. John Carter, the guy can't put a coherent thought together. Sound like his dear leader. All right, Michael says, I'm tired of Mike C. Pardon, catch you tomorrow. Don't you do that, Mr. Rudnin. Come on. I hope you stuck around. Egberto, it's wild from when she walked over to shake his hand. Yes, she shook his hand and she emasculated him. You're absolutely right. That is what happened to men who don't really respect women. I'm going to read her whole statement. Egberto, it is wild from when she walked over to shake his hand. She had him and baited him till he went nuts. He lost. Usually men have to pay for women to do that to a man. She emasculated him. Exactly. 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 All right. Juliana Pacifica tuning in from Hawaii. Hola, hermana de Hawaii. Of course, you guys speak English too, and I don't remember the other language here. Anyway, Shakula Hirsai, the 50th state of the United States, or is it the 48th? I don't remember. Anyway, Paul Fleming says, Ivanka, is it time to put your dad in a home? Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time. All right, guys, I want you to listen to this other. I have 3 more videos, and they're very short. So let's go ahead and get busy. I think I can get all of them in. These snippets here show why Kamala Harris won the debate, how she simply took down Donald Trump, not only on facts, but by using his terrible temperament. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. World leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace.
Is there anything else left to be said? This is a failure. This man is a failure. Now, for those who are supporting him, again, you know why they're doing it. But if those who are seeking the success of the country, the success of the economy, they know where to go. Remember, when you go to that booth, it's between you, your ballot, and your God. You may have to say other things because of where you're at, but remember, vote your interest. Mike Cisak, yes, it was worse than 9/11 because it came from within. Yes, it was worse than 9/11 because it came from within. And it was a corruption, the pollution of the entire country, and it almost brought us down. We came together for 9/11. January 6th spread us apart, and January 6th created a whole lot of clear and present dangers for the country. All right, I got another one that I got to get out here. Congresswoman Jasmine Crocket has a salient message for people who consider themselves undecided or good Republicans still seeking to see if Kamala is someone they can support. Vice President Kamala Harris. I want you to listen to this and we'll take it on the other side.
I don't know how you can watch this debate and be undecided. I could see how you walked in maybe undecided, but after watching this, you have to be concerned that the most important position that we have in the world is President of the United States. And if we've got somebody who literally doesn't know who our friends are and who's not our friends, who can't say things like, yes, I want Ukraine to win the war, what Russia did was wrong, and consistently talks about these authoritarians as if they are God themselves, in addition to making up just some of the most ridiculous lies about immigrants in a country of immigrants when he's married to an immigrant, I don't know what more you need to see.
Again, this is not difficult. This is not rocket science. What we saw is Donald Trump under pressure and what he does when one just gives him a little bit of mental stress. He cannot cope. He's getting older. He's getting even less flexible than the less flexible person he has always been. He's incoherent. Is that the person that we would want with the button? Is that the person that we would want making United States policies? Is that the person we would want implementing United States policy? I'm pretty sure the answer to that is absolutely not. So it's time for us to remove our blinders, or those that are undecided or otherwise. It is time for you to start acting in the best interest of the country and not in an ideological modal that simply hurts us all. There's only one choice in this election at this point. Absolutely. And from Bridge MCP, she has the picture of Harris going into his space, into the space of Donald Trump, because the punk, the sissy, the guy that's scared of women was trying to not look her in the eye or shake her hands or anything. And what did she do? She said, no, sucker, you are going to shake out my hands. I am in command of this stage. You grown up, overweight punk. And that is all of that is in those eyes. And I hate to say it this way. I hate it. I hate that I had to go there. But he has the ability to bring the woman kills baby live on stage 78 years after its birth. I love it. I love it. Okay, guys, one more to go. Oh, Donald Trump brings the worst out of everybody, but we have to keep down. All right, one last one. This one is very short. Check out how Kamala Harris completely annihilates Donald Trump with this response to his very ridiculous statement that people always wanted Roe v. Wade to be controlled by the states, to be voted into the state. Check this out.
This is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened.
You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that.
Now that is how it is done. And Kamala Harris knocked it out of the park. She absolutely knocked it out of the park. Anyway, folks, look, we're at the end of the show. I want to thank everyone for being here. I also want to thank Brother Mike Cisak, because believe it or not, Mike Cisak, you gave me an opportunity. I'm going to cut that little segment out on that I just did on tariffs, because a lot of people don't understand that the tariffs are just there and designed to reduce the taxes on the rich, so that all the middle class and the poor who buy stuff at Walmart and elsewhere, they are the ones who pay the tax. Then that means they're the ones who build all the roads that the rich people use for their factories and their trucks, etc. You have to understand it. You have to understand it. We can't wait on the 33% of our population that are completely gullible because they allowed themselves to be willfully ignorant. We can't sit back and wait on them. We can bring them into the fold. We can love on them. We can do all these things. But we have to go and hold the bulls by the horn, and to hell with their gullibility. We have to do what we've got to do. Folks, please support the program. How can you support the program? Simply go to politicsdoneright.com/support. That has all the different ways in which you can support the program. We are way behind in fundraising for this particular show. So I ask you so kindly to go to politicsdoneright.com/support and provide whatever you can. It turned out when we went out to Baltimore this time around, it was expensive and it wasn't covered. And now the bill comes due. So politicsdoneright.com/support is the way, the all-encompassing way to support us. You can also purchase all of my books, right? You can get all of my books at politicsdoneright.com/books, politicsdoneright.com/books. But you know what? I'm asking people who can. The newsletter Egberto Off the Record. I'm asking all of you who have the wherewithal to give us a coffee a month, to please consider subscribing to our newsletter. Just go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Please become a paid subscriber of our newsletter. If you become a paid subscriber of our newsletter, guess what? You get to read. You don't have to go out to buy our books. You can go ahead and read all of our books online. And how do you do that? Let me take you there. There is that is blinking, so I got to take it to the other one. There is the link to my this is a website for politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. And again, if you go ahead and click on books, you see that all of my books are there. As I see it, Class Warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relative Friends and Neighbors. And where is my other book? Oh, there it is. Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. Racism Didn't Stop My Smile, Hope, or Journey Forward. All of that you can read online if you become a paid subscriber of our newsletter. So I ask you so kindly to please, if you can spare a coffee a month for a friend, that is equivalent to subscribing to our newsletter. And in doing so, you help us continue to tell the truth. Like I just schooled Mike Cisak on tariffs, something that he still chooses not to understand, how tariffs is there to remove income taxes and put all the burden of taxes on the lower classes. That's what it's there for. It's never explained. Even as they do it on TV, you never, ever hear that explained. We are here to do that. And we're there to explain a whole lot of other stuff. And how do we do that? We do that with programs like this. I'm here and I'm also on air on the radio. But right here, we are behind in fundraising. So support us however you can. If you want to get hard copies of the books, go to politicsdoneright.com/books. Politicsdoneright.com. Let me put that in here. politicsdoneright.com/books. But what I'm asking for is a commitment that says, you know what? I like what you guys are doing there. I'll go ahead and subscribe to your newsletter, or I'll go to your support page and find some other way to support you. I got to get out of here. But I want to thank all of you. Love all of you. I want to thank Mike Cisak for calling in. Mike is one of our MAGA brothers here as well. I know a lot of you give me a hard time for entertaining Mike and the other MAGA folks, but I love them too. And I want I want it that we are America. We are America. So my MAGA brothers are honestly, I'm not saying this to be cool or facetious or anything. I do consider them my brothers and sisters as well. However misled. However misled. I've been misled in my life before. And if it weren't for good women, if it weren't for good gay folk, I would have continued in my fog of idiocy, in my fog of dumbness. So I pay that forward by making sure I give everybody options. Anyway, got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.